He was the greatest swordsman who ever lived. 100 years ago, he single-handedly defeated the most powerful evil the world had ever seen, and died doing it. And when he opened his eyes again, a century later, in the body of a 15-year-old child, the first thing he felt was not relief, not gratitude, not wonder. It was rage, because the sect he gave his life to protect had become a joke. This is Return of the Blossoming Blade, and Cheongmyeong is about to remind the world exactly why they feared him. 100 years ago, the world of martial arts was ruled by two forces: the righteous sects, 10 great clans who trained warriors to protect the innocent and uphold order, and the demonic cult, a force of pure destruction led by the most terrifying warrior alive, the Cheongmyeong. When the demonic cult launched its final assault, only one man stood in its path: Cheongmyeong, the 13th disciple of the Mount Hua sect. Known as the Plum Blossom Sword Saint, one of only 3 warriors in history to reach the absolute peak of swordsmanship. The battle was apocalyptic. Both sides bled out everything they had, and in the end, Cheongmyeong drove his sword through Cheonma's heart and collapsed moments later from his wounds. He died on a mountaintop, surrounded by bodies, filled with one single regret. He never got to see his sect flourish. He wakes up 100 years later as a scrawny teenager with no memory of how. And the first thing he discovers is that Mount Hua, the sect he bled and died for, has become the weakest, most pitiful clan in the entire martial arts world. What happened to Mount Hua in 100 years? Everything. The sect lost its greatest techniques. The Plum Blossom sword art, the signature blade style that made Mount Hua legendary, was only partially preserved. The disciples barely understood the basics. The training was laughable. The elders were complacent. The other sects looked down on them openly. Mount Hua had gone from the most feared sword clan in the world to a second-rate school that couldn't even compete in minor tournaments. And Cheongmyeong, who invented some of those lost techniques, who perfected the Plum Blossom sword art in his previous life, had to stand there and watch children fumble through exercises he could perform in his sleep at age 7. Nobody knew who he really was. Nobody believed a scrawny, drunk, disrespectful teenager could be anything special. That was their first mistake. Cheongmyeong had 2 choices: walk away and let Mount Hua collapse completely, or rebuild it from nothing, one disciple at a time. He chose the harder path, not because he was noble, not because he wanted to be a teacher, but because he made a promise to a dead master 100 years ago. And Cheongmyeong was the kind of man who kept his promises even after dying. He started with the weakest disciples, the ones everyone else had given up on. He pushed them to their absolute limits, and then past those limits. He taught them the true Plum Blossom sword technique, the real version, not the watered-down copy that had survived a century. He broke them down and rebuilt them stronger. The disciples who trained under him stopped being the laughingstock of the martial arts world. They started winning, then they started dominating. And slowly, tournament by tournament, battle by battle, the name Mount Hua began to mean something again. But rebuilding a fallen sect doesn't happen quietly. The stronger Mount Hua grew, the more enemies noticed. Other clans who had benefited from Mount Hua's weakness didn't want to see it rise again. The remnants of the demonic cult, not fully defeated, just dormant, began stirring in the shadows. And the deeper Cheongmyeong dug, the more he discovered that the fall of Mount Hua wasn't just bad luck, it was engineered. Someone had deliberately destroyed the sect's legacy, stolen its techniques, and made sure it could never recover. The enemy wasn't just outside, it had been working from within for 100 years. And now Cheongmyeong, the only person alive who remembered what Mount Hua was truly capable of, was the only one who could uncover the truth and stop history from repeating itself. The final confrontations pushed everything to the edge. Cheongmyeong faced enemies who knew who he really was, and feared him for it. The demonic cult mobilized fully. The corrupted forces inside the righteous sects revealed themselves, and Cheongmyeong, still in a teenager's body, still outnumbered, still pretending to be nobody, fought like the legend he actually was. The Plum Blossom sword technique in full bloom is something no one alive had ever seen. Petals of pure energy shredding through everything in their path. Not brutal force, perfect precision, every strike exactly where it needed to be. His disciples fought beside him, the same weak children he had dragged off the ground months before, now warriors worthy of the Mount Hua name. They didn't just win, they announced to the entire martial arts world that Mount Hua was back. Cheongmyeong never wanted to be a legend again. He just wanted to fix what was broken. What he built instead was something greater than what existed before. A generation of disciples who didn't just inherit his techniques, but understood the spirit behind them. Mount Hua didn't rise again because of one man's power. It rose because one man refused to let it die. And somewhere in that journey, between the training, the battles, the losses, and the victories, a drunk, reckless, disrespectful teenager became something his disciples would talk about for the next 100 years. Return of the Blossoming Blade is not just a story about revenge or restoration. It's about what it means to carry a legacy and whether one person can be enough to save it. Subscribe. Every isekai, every revenge, every rise. Reborn Recap.